I when I was in high school, was a high-ranking musician. I was an all-state. I was playing all these things. I was a student at the Peabody Preparatory for like 7 years and playing in the orchestra and doing all sorts of crazy things. And it was really intense. I pushed myself really hard. I wanted to be a great horn player. And when it came time to decide my degree program, as I mentioned to you before, I decided to be a band director, but very soon after realized, oh, hey, this is not what I want to do. Um, and I think honestly, I chose band director because I was too scared to choose performance because I thought, oh, I'll never make it. I'm not good enough. All these negative thoughts we all have, especially as women, right? We're trained from an early age to doubt ourselves, right? So, anyway, when I switched degrees and I started going to festivals and things like that, it just got really intense. It was like school years just all bled together. Festivals, I was playing all summer. Um, I had some. I've never really had performance anxiety, but I had a lot of like self doubt. I just didn't feel like I could do it. And then I would do it, and it would be amazing, and everyone was like, "You're so amazing!" And it would be hard because you fall down and get pumped up so high, and then fall on your face, and like it was just stressful. And the reason I say all this is because the same thing happened in master's degree, and halfway through my master's degree, so like I'll never forget sitting in my professor's office, and it was the intermission for an orchestra concert, and I was sitting there with my friend, and I just started crying because I was like, oh my god, I'm going to graduate soon, and I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Like, how am I going to win a job? It's so hard, it's so competitive, and this is right around the time of the recession, the 2008 recession, and I just was like paralyzed with fear because I knew I didn't want to get a doctorate. I just knew I didn't want to go back to school. It had been so intense for so long, and I just didn't want to do that. So I went through with my second year. It went really well. I did a lot of amazing things. I started playing with the DSO on occasion. Like all sorts of really cool stuff started happening. And I thought, okay, I'm going to make it. So I started taking auditions, and I would do pretty well for a while, but then the screen would come down and all of a sudden it would just be different. And I feel uncomfortable telling you this because I think in the back of my head, people think, oh, you just weren't good enough. But I know that I was good enough. I knew then and I knew now, and I know now. Something was different. And like I said, I would take big auditions and I'd be one of the only people like last round, a couple times in the finals and stuff, and something different happens when that screen comes down. And I never really thought about it being discrimination because I thought, well, I mean, I'm a good horn player. That's all that matters. But I was very naive, and like my teacher would have these talks with me at the time that suggested that I needed to make some changes about who I was to be accepted into this community. Because if it came down to me and someone who could get the job done but looked a different way, then that person was going to get the job because that's just the way the industry was. And when I don't hate my teacher for saying that to me. At the time, it was the horrible thing to hear, but in a way I'm glad that my teacher told me this because it really made me think about why I was even doing this in the first place and like if I should quit. And so at the time my husband got into the Maryland Institute College of Art, and I just thought to myself, this is a good time for me to transition. So I wrote to all my Dallas contacts. I said, I'm moving to Maryland and starting a new life there with my fiance. And everyone wished me well. And I moved to Baltimore, and I got an apartment in the city, and I got a retail job working for a company called Music and Arts. I started as a clerk, as a full-time clerk, lowest level like position in the store. And I worked really hard, and I worked my way up. I was breaking sales records all the time, which I was very goal oriented, so like I was all about, and we also got commission. So if I made over my goal and if I did better than everybody else, well, then I would get this big fat check, and I was all about that money. I was trying to make it rain bonuses. Like I was all about it. So, one promotion led to the next, and then eventually ended up being an educational representative for an entire region. And they gave me a company card, a computer, and a phone, and I felt all like, I'm badass boss. Look at me, I got this car. Woo, what's up? And then one day I was sitting in my car, and I, getting ready to go to work, and I turned it on, and it was set to the classical station on the radio, and Rhapsody in Blue came on, and I can still see it in my mind's eye. I mean, I know how memories work. They say, you're not really remembering what happened, but when I tell you, like I'm in that car right now as I was that day, and I heard the clarinet riff, and the horns come in, and I like get emotional even just thinking about it now. Like I just lost it. Like it was just such a horrible moment in my life to realize like what have I done? I let them take it away from me. I let them take the joy away from me of why the whole reason why the little girl that picked up the French horn chose to play the horn. And I decided at that moment, I was like, well, I can't do this anymore. Like this is not who I am anymore. I'm grateful for it. It paid the bills while my husband was in school. He has a job now, so I'm going to go back to it. And it's funny, like right before I even decided to stop playing the horn, I felt like I wasn't playing very well. Even though I was like doing okay at auditions, and I almost always advanced, almost always. Rarely did I not advance, but I thought I didn't like the way I played. It just didn't feel like me. It felt like somebody else. So I decided that I was going to quit my job. Still can't believe we did this. And we moved in with my dad in his house. And I started teaching. That's when I got the Peabody job. And then I started taking gigs, and a lot of them were free. I played in a community orchestra for a while and then worked my way up there to principal horn. And then the conductor asked me to play in his paid orchestra. And I was like, okay, that's cool. And I just started hustling really hard. And I started playing again, but I played different. I didn't play the way I had played before. I played like with my heart. I don't know, it's the only way I can describe it. Like I just played what I felt inside. I've always been an emoter. Like I play my emotions through my instrument. And so the gigs just started coming, and not only were there gigs, but it was different gigs, right? Like so I'm really I love gospel and I love jazz. Like I'm half black, and so like growing up like listening to my dad's music, he introduced me to like blues and jazz and soul music and gospel and classical too. I mean, he loves that stuff too, but it just was so great to start playing those gigs. And I actually ended up playing like a Christmas spectacular, gospel spectacular at the Kennedy Center, which was like baller. I've never played at the Kennedy Center until that point, and it was just I just knew I was doing the right thing. And you know how like sometimes in life maybe you don't know. I mean, hopefully when you're on this path and stuff just starts happening, you're like, this is right. This feels right. And that's what happened for me. So I don't regret that time. I worked really hard, but I learned a lot about business. I learned a lot about sales, which has helped me a lot in my career because I mean, I'm selling my services to prospective students all the time. I'm selling my horn playing to prospective gigs all the time. I've learned how to talk to people, especially people I don't like, and how to talk with them without letting them know that I don't like them. So it's been great. And I would say to everybody who is thinking about, what's the next step and what do I do? Just start thinking about being your best self and grateful for every step, because that waitress job might be the momentum that gets you to that orchestra job. You never know how things are going to help you.